So welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard, Give Back Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Litzner, broker owner of Coldwell Banker American Homes. And with me today is Gail Carillo from Team Carillo. She's a virtual icon in real estate across, all Long Island, I would say, but based out of our Rockaway office in Suffolk County. Now, Gail's team, right? You have 23 people on your team?
Yes.
If I understand correctly, right? Mm-hmm. And just to give our audience a perspective of what you guys bring to the table. So last, say, rolling 12 months, we did like 165 house sales last year. Is that correct?
165 units, yeah.
Yeah, and so this team's generating in the vicinity of $2 million a year in GCI, or gross closed commissions, as they might turn around, making you guys the number one team for Coldwell Banker in New York State for 4 years running. That's an incredible, accomplishment. So
thank you.
You have an amazing team. So Gail, what I want to start off with right now is there seems to be like two different lanes in real estate sales in the brokerage industry, and you got the agents working individually, or a certain point in their career, like you, it was that line shift to, do I build a team? And you chose to build a team. So I'd love if you could share, what went into that thought process and what that transition looked like with us.
Okay. I would like to say I had the foresight to build a team because I believe teams are the way of the future, and the future is now.
Yeah.
I really didn't have that foresight. The team was built on a foundation of service. So when I was an individual, I built the business being very responsive to my clients, giving premium customer service. Yeah. And when I was unable to do that as an individual, I added a team member, and so on and so forth. So the team kind of just evolved all around the concept of service, good service.
Right. It's kind of interesting from the point of that. I always say referrals happen by design, not by accident. And when you do a superior job, when you take that customer's, care, it's amazing how easy it is to get referrals out of them.
It is.
So how much of your business do you think is generated from those referrals?
So much of my business is a referral-based business, and it's been like that since the beginning. When I was a rookie and there were experienced agents in the office and they said, does anybody want a referral? I raised my hand.
Yeah.
I love referral fees.
Yeah.
And this is unusual because people don't like referral fees. Behind every referral fee is a check.
Yes.
And if somebody doesn't want to take a referral fee or pay a referral fee, I'm happy to pay it.
Yeah.
I'd rather get 75% of something than 100% of nothing.
Right.
And actually, I built my business on referrals. And to this day, most of my business comes from referrals, a large percentage.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now how do you translate that or transition that to your teammates, to two team members who join Team Carillo and they're there? So you have this service mentality, which I think is awesome. It's fundamental. We're in a service business.
Right.
And people have, when agents start to realize that instead of being salespeople, that their service will help people, you make a lot of money and you get a lot of referrals. People respond when you just take that helpful approach to that stuff. How do you translate that type of mindset to your team?
Well, it starts with who you put on your team. Right? Okay. So I'm extremely particular for a couple of reasons, because I need them to follow the culture. Yeah. They need to be good realtors, but that you can train. They need to be good human beings. That's very, very important to me. If I'm going to hand over my referral business to anybody, I need to know that they're good, solid human beings, right? Yeah. So it starts there with who you put on your team. So I make sure I put the right people on my team for that reason, and also because it's difficult for me to let people go. So for those two reasons, I'm very particular about who gets onto my team. Then if I have, I have given away all of my buyer referral business at this point, but it doesn't mean that they're in place of me. It means they're in addition to me. Right. And if I have a personal referral who's looking for me and an experience they had with me, and we're trying to duplicate that, I'll be engaged. I'm not doing the field work because that would be impossible for me to do based on the other things that I have to do, right? Yeah. So they'll do the field work, but when it comes to the negotiations, we're a team, all three of us. I do a lot of group threads, because most people like to text these days. So there'll be the agent that was assigned, myself, and my referral on a thread. So I can watch and see what's happening and just be a part of it. Yeah. But I make sure they know it's definitely not in place of me. Right. Even though the men and women on my team are very, very competent. Yes. We always say we're not just one soldier, we're an army. Yeah. I like that. We couple everything together, and the buyer in that instance gets the best of all worlds. Yeah. So you mentioned about being picky about who you take onto your team. How do you find people for the team? Is it, at this stage of your life, obviously you're really well known in the marketplace. Do agents seek you out, or is there a process that you go through with what comes to maybe expanding your team? Yeah, I don't run any kinds of ads or put anything up on social media, mainly because of what I said to you before. I don't like to hurt anybody, so I don't like to say no, and I don't want to have to tell somebody that they don't fit.
Right.
What I do is a silent interview, and I learned that in the field myself. I told this story before where I had a gentleman call me up on a house that was $200 and some odd thousand, and he wanted to see how I was going to service him, and I serviced him very well, and he called me back 5 minutes later and said, just kidding, I'm a builder. I have 35 condominiums on the water. That was your interview. Wow. That was your first interview. I did get that job.
Yeah.
Now what I do is I silent interview agents when I'm at a final walkthrough and I watch how somebody conducts themselves. For example, this last walkthrough that I went to, there was an agent there that my client was very, very hard on, really, really hard. Yeah. He remained a consummate professional through all of it, and he really struck me. I said, this is a person I want to work with. Good agents can handle themselves under easy situations, but great agents handle themselves under the difficult situations. Yeah. So I like to see not what somebody's going to say to me, because in the interview chair, everybody tells you how good they are. Right. Even when I'm on a listing appointment, I tell the seller, everybody in this chair is going to tell you how good we are. Right. And that's when I get into the importance of reviews and third-party endorsements. Yeah. Right? So if you really want to know what I'm about, look at the reviews from others. Yeah. And when I'm looking for an agent, I really want to know what they're about. I watch how they perform at an open house. Yeah. If I go in and the agent's at the table looking in their phone and says, yeah, feel free to walk around. That's not somebody that I want on my team. Right. Right? I want somebody to help propel the sale of that property. Right. So I watch in the field.
Yeah. Now it starts to make sense when you hear it from that point, because I've obviously met your team, and you got some great people on the team. It just I love them. It always struck me as like, wow, how do they all have that same mindset? But it starts from the top. You know, it's funny. I've had a good friend of mine who always used to tell me the fish stinks with the head down. And that means that you don't like what's going on your team, or it starts with you. You have to look at what you bring to the table and how do you hold them accountable.
Yes.
So
one thing I didn't say before is that some of the agents on my team, first of all, I have very little turnover on my team, and I'm very proud of that. Yeah. I have people have been with me for over a decade, but most of my admins become real estate agents. Yeah. So they start as the admin, they get to see what's going on behind the scenes, they learn the business. I hope that doesn't happen. With this one, it's also selling, but they usually want to get into full-time real estate. Yeah. So I had like 3 or 4 people on my team become realtors from working from behind the scenes. Oh, so interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. You got firsthand view of success, and you say, I'm
how it works. Right. Exactly.
No, that's great. That's great. You had 165 house sales sold in the last 12 months. What makes a homeowner list their house with you? Why Team Carillo?
Well, I've actually asked a question, right? I wanted to know, and I've asked in the past. So, may I ask you, what was the deciding factor? Why did you choose me and the team? Yeah. And it almost always came down to one thing. Yeah. Trust.
Okay.
I said, was it my resume? With respect, was it the company I worked for? Yeah. Those things were pluses, correct. Right? But the real reason was they felt they can trust me. They felt a sense of integrity. Yeah. And I have to tell you, 9 out of 10 times it was that. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the sayings I love, what you hear these certain sayings, they stick in your brain, and I think they resonate with you, is they say that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. Right. And that's interesting, as that trust comes across, they know that you care. Yes. That it's that connection. Yes. So once you get that connection, then they listen to everything else, right?
I have a lot of tears at the table, because I think that there's 2 things I find that people really want. They want to know that they matter, and they want to know that you care. Yeah. And they want to be listened to. Yeah. And this is what I teach my team. There is no magic bullet. This is all about life skills. This is all about the ability to listen to somebody and make them feel heard. Yes. And the less conversation you have, the better conversationalist they think you are.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they say the most overlooked side of a conversationalist is listening.
Right.
People love to hire people say, I can be good at real estate. I can talk to anyone. It's like, yeah, but can you listen?
That's what's most important. And you know where I learned that? I volunteered for an organization called Response. It's a suicide prevention, crisis intervention hotline. Yeah. And I said, how am I going to talk to people that are thinking of ending their lives? What kind of training do I have, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. Wow. And all the training for that organization, and for me to be a part of that, was to reflective listen. Yeah. Sounds like you're feeling frustrated. Sounds like you're scared. Sounds like. Reflect back what I was hearing. Yeah. I didn't have any solutions. I was a referral source. Yeah. I gave referrals on where they can get further help. But that's where I learned the importance of reflective listening. It's key.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome. I didn't even know that. I thought we've talked before and
Something new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that vein, you have your team, you have the members of your team, but what does your team look like beyond your age? I know you have 2 admins that personal work with you.
Yes.
How do you find an admin?
How do I find an admin? Let me think about that. Well, one was pretty easy to find because he's my son.
Okay, there you go.
He's my junior admin.
It's in the bloodline.
Yes. Actually, the admin that I have now was recommended to me when an admin I had was stepping down to become a realtor.
Yeah.
When I have an admin step down to become a realtor, they've been so gracious as to spend a lot of time transitioning, making sure the team was solid. And because I really work hard at building relationships and people don't feel the need to just cut out. Right. And I want to see these people grow. So I've been so lucky. The admin that was before the admin I have now stayed on board until she was fully equipped, but she was referred to me in the process. Everything is by referral.
Yeah. Now your team goes, again, even beyond the admin because, it takes a village, right?
Yes.
So you have attorney guys.
Yes. One of the things that's so important to me, like I said to you earlier, that you can teach sales skills, right? But you can't really train for character, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that's so important to me is loyalty.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm a very loyal person as well. So if I have a business partner that's doing all the things I need them to do, and I know that there's some people in the business that want business partners that's going to bring them business. That is not my primary goal. My primary goal is that they're going to service my clients well. And if I get business from them, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
I don't discourage agents for asking for business from their business partners, but to me, that is not the most important thing.
Yeah.
Because those referrals that we talk about come from aligning them with other good business partners.
Yes.
So I have lenders, I have attorneys, we have a resource guide. And on that guide, we have everything from a painter, inspector, termites, whatever you need, attorneys, lenders. Those people were personally referred.
Yeah.
And so if there's somebody who's using somebody off that guide, they were recommended.
Yeah. So there's a high level of trust. Again, there's that word trust.
Very much.
And that they're going to deliver the right services for a fair price.
That's right.
To your customers and clients.
100%.
Right. Great. So what do you look for in a mortgage person?
When I align myself with certain partners,
Yeah.
I trust they're going to do their end of the job.
Right.
I don't try to be a mortgage broker. I don't try to be an attorney. I don't try to be a contractor. But I align myself with people that I know will know how to close. And most importantly, they're going to know how to take care of those referrals that I send their way. What do I expect from a mortgage broker? Thoroughness. I expect them to be a trusted advisor, to help a buyer into coaching them about the market conditions that we're in, right?
Yeah.
If we have buyers right now, they have to be coached to say, you are not shopping a price tag.
Right.
You're shopping a payments.
Yeah.
And I always say, and this comes from the lender. It starts from the lender and it spills down, or it starts from us and it spills back. I don't know. But when we go to shop for a car, we don't say how much is that car unless we're going to buy it outright. We say, what's the payments?
Right.
And if it satisfies us, we say, we'll take it.
Right.
That's how shopping for houses is right now.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with this payment to get the sticker?
Right.
Because if it says $500, you're paying $550.
Right.
To get the sticker.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the question was, what do I expect from my mortgage people or any of my business partners? It's service first. I need people to be available because we set that stage of availability, right? My clients expect to get me not between 9 and 5. They expect quick responses. So anybody that can't operate like that, unfortunately, won't fit into our mold.
Right.
Because that's what we do. We train the consumer.
You know, it's interesting. I think of the average consumer or, the person who's not real estate thinks that when you're picking a mortgage person, you're shopping rate. Mm-hmm. And I noticed very clearly you didn't lead with anything with regards to rate. All these banks out there are relatively, competitive.
Right.
So, the rate fluctuates. But at the end of the day, if the person you're working with isn't a trusted advisor, come back to the word trust again, then what's the difference? Because many times they're not closing within the time frame or locking in the rate from day one because the time frame contract or closing. So you need to look deeper than just a price tag, so to speak. What's the number they're going to throw at you? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be at closing and it's like, oops.
There's not that much differentiation in the rates. There's certain things that are just going to be the same.
Exactly.
Where there's differentiation is there's a lot of hidden costs in financing. And if the consumer is with the wrong lender, they may not get all the facts and they may make a decision. It's the same thing with the commission, right? People are very fixated on what the commission's going to be rather than what the real issue is. Where am I going to get the biggest bottom line?
Right.
Right. In this market right now, it's a little less about the rate. I know the rates are a big issue, but what I'm saying is they say date the rate, marry the home, right? Break into home ownership. Yeah. I personally pushed my own son. This famed realtor said, overpay and under-inspect, get in. That's what I said, overpay and under-inspect. I needed a therapist when that was over. I really did, because I felt like I failed my son. He has probably $50,000 to $75,000 in equity. Already.
So it was the right move.
It was the right move. And I had him do something else that I'm cringe about, but it was the right thing at the time. He took an adjustable rate mortgage. Okay. It made sense for him. His rate is 3.99 at a time when the rates were pushing into the 5.6s. Yeah. And now look where they are.
Yes.
And he'll refinance.
Yeah.
So
how long did he lock in for? Just curious.
With the adjustable rate?
Yeah, 3 years.
He has, no, it's a very different kind of a program, and I think he's good for like 7 years.
Great.
Yeah, 7 years, and then he has the right to refinance, and it only costs him a small amount of money. It was a great product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did your mortgage guy turn up?
Actually, he didn't, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I went to both of my mortgage people, and they said at that time, there is somebody else who has a better program than we do, and that's where we want your son. And they coached through the whole thing. Yeah. That's the kind of people I align myself with.
There's no wonder they're part of the team.
That's, you know what I mean? They do what's right by the consumer. They do what's right by the team members. They do what's right by me.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's so important.
Yes.
So important. So just to pivot a little bit, you know, again, I think a lot of people, they hear things about real estate, but they don't live it every day. So from a point of a top producer, you know, the head of a, you know, dynamic team. Do you have an example of a recent success story that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I had a repeat client of mine call me up and say to me, I bought a house in Florida. Okay. I have to sell my house to buy that house. Yeah. I have 30 days to close. Ooh. Okay, this is a past client of mine. She's counting on me. I said, oh my God, what did you do? Like, we don't close in 30 days. Yeah. Things take longer. That is a very, very tall order. With that said, I think I can make it happen. So I never promise. I like to over-deliver. Yes. I don't like to overrate something. Yes. I will do everything I can. You may not get every last dollar, but I'll do my best. She said, I don't care about every last dollar. You need to close this house in 30 days. It's price and terms we negotiate. Everyone always fixates on the price. Right. Right. And yet we know that the terms are more important. Very important. So, in this case, very much so, right? Terms are very important. We needed somebody that was going to be able to operate quickly. We couldn't really entertain anybody who had a house to sell. Yeah. So there was a lot of things. And this is what goes into representing a client, really knowing and being able to think outside the box. Yeah. What I see a lot of times from both the sellers and the agents is everybody's looking for the highest price. Right. What good is that high price if this person was going to lose her down payment in Florida and the house of her dreams? So it was double whammy. Yeah. We did it. And we got top dollar. So that was a huge success. Why am I not surprised? Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Yes, but I did that with the cooperation of my client. Yes. I said, we need to go. I'm very, very big believer in compelling pricing. I said, I will not undersell your house. Elaborate. I haven't heard it called that before. Compelling pricing. Right. I like that. I kind of know, I think I know where you're going with this, but can you elaborate on compelling pricing? Yes, sure. I always say if it's compelling, it's selling. Okay. Right? In this market, if your house is worth this and you list it here, you know what's happening? You're getting this. Yeah. If your house is worth this in this market and you list it here, old school thinking wiggle room. Yeah. And when it gets here in 30 days, you take this. Yeah. So compelling pricing with the right agent. Yeah. You never have to be fearful that you're going to undersell the property. It creates a strong energy, a strong vibe, and a great sense of competition. Yeah. It puts the seller in the market and not on top of the market. Right. And then let the market drive. Correct. The sales will drive it up. Is every listing getting multiple bids still in this marketplace? I think that our listings are because we subscribe to that compelling pricing strategy. Yeah. And when I get a consumer that's really strict on not wanting to do it, they kill the stomach for it, they want to start higher, I tell them we need to make an adjustment to that price. We need to reposition that price very quickly if you do that. So with the combination of compelling pricing or repositioning quickly, yes, we're still seeing multiple bids over asking. What I'm noticing, the margins are getting a little bit smaller, right? The number over asking a little bit smaller. But there's exceptions to that. Yeah. When you get a house that's, especially the first-time home buyer market, that market, they're killing each other for housing. They need it. That's so much. People are getting married. There's such a demand. Yeah. So, and you know what? Also, I did notice, though, this sounds a little hypocritical to what I just said, but it is circumstantial, right? Yeah. It depends on the market. The higher end markets, not so much. First time home buyer. Yesterday's 30,000 over is now 50 to 80 to 100. We're selling houses $100,000 over asking in that marketplace. 100. And we're asking for appraisal guarantees, which I don't think a lot of people understand what they're saying when they say, we'll waive the appraisal. You know, can you waive the appraisal?
Yeah.
Right?
They waive the appraisal and can't get the loan approved. What did you accomplish?
A lot of times they're just throwing around that kind of language, and the consumer, the buyers, with the wrong person representing them, not really understand what they're representing. They're saying, I don't care what the bank says. I know, but the bank cares what the bank says.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? I hear a lot of agents say about, well, you know, we're going to waive the appraisal. And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, the deal's not contingent upon appraisal. It's contingent upon financing. Mm-hmm. So if you waive the appraisal and they offer you less financing, you know, so what does that leave?
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Potentially vulnerable, losing your down payment because you can't come up with the difference.
That could be a problem. And I see a lot of buyers putting themselves into positions that are really scary.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And not recognizing that they could be putting their down payment in jeopardy.
Yes. So that's why I think the terms, like, you know, you have price and terms.
Right.
So important.
Very much.
You have a great agent who understands the nuances of those terms.
I think that, you know what, it's always been important to be a coach.
Yeah.
A good real estate agent is a coach, a trusted advisor.
Yeah.
In the market that we're in now and the market that we're going into, more important than ever.
Yeah.
More important than ever, do you need coaching and need somebody in your corner guiding you?
Yeah. Especially if you're in a situation where you're selling to buy. Because, right, in the past, it was always like you have to sell your house first if you need those monies to buy the next house.
Right.
And all of a sudden in this market, it's like, well, I don't want to sell my house because I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
So it's kind of been a little bit backwards. Mm-hmm. What's your feelings on what you're dealing with in the seller/buy segment of the market?
So what we did was we created, we called it a soft launch. And what it is, we'll take an exclusive listing and we explain very clearly to the seller, this can be a very quiet time for you. And we may not generate any activity because under the MLS rules with an exclusive, you can't advertise it.
Yeah.
You can show it, ironically, but you can't advertise it. So without me being able to advertise it, I can't promise you anything. But what it does do, it allows me to prepare while you're preparing and looking around. Yeah. So now I'm getting my marketing plan all in order, and I'm ready to flip my switch the second they identify a house. And believe it or not, if they found a house on Wednesday, I can do an open house that weekend and find their buyer.
Right.
If we wait to put their house on the market, then I'm not ready either.
Yes.
They lose the house they want.
You know what would be great if you could share with us, because I think the average consumer doesn't understand what a marketing proposal is, what goes into bringing that house to market properly. You know, obviously there's agents out there who will snap some pictures on their their cell phone, but I don't think that's doing a property justice. You know, so what is preparing that marketing proposal for Team Carillo? What does that look like?
I think it starts, I have to go back, and it starts with the price. Yeah. We all have pretty much the same marketing tools, I think. Yeah. I knew that I needed to get more contemporary with the social media. And so I have a social media guy. Yeah. I'm a videographer too, but I'm a social media guy now as an extension of my team as one of my business partners. Okay. So he makes us look great out there. In this market, I don't really even think that's that important. It's important to the sellers because they see this as the way of marketing these days. Yeah. But what's really working is compelling pricing, creating a demand, right? Some agents don't like this, but it does work. First showings at the open house. Okay. Because if you do the showings all week, Monday's showing doesn't know about Wednesdays doesn't know about Fridays. But when you're pushing all that traffic into that open house, even though the agents can't stand it, and I understand, it creates a look over your shoulder. And I better act aggressively. Did you see that guy? Did you see how many people were here? And that's what creates the multiple bid. Yeah.
But when you talk about marketing packages, like, so when you got this new listing, you're like, wow, this is a hot house. What does it look like? You do you use a specific photographer? Are you doing anything unique or different? What do you say is the Team Carillo standard?
I think you have to have the cooperation of your client, meaning that you need to prep them for the proper staging. Yeah. Right? I always tell them, I'm not going to ask you to paint your house or change your kitchen. Right. What I am going to ask you to do is declutter. Yeah. Less is more. The house should look good, sound good, and smell good. Okay? Look good means less is more. I tell people if you have surfaces that are an arm's length, 2 pieces. 2 arm's length, 3 pieces. Yeah. This is clean is free, decluttering is free. Yeah. Give me that kind of a product. All right, let's create the demand with the first showings at the open house. If the house warrants drones, I'll do drones. If the house warrants a video walkthrough, I'll do video walkthrough. Floor plans, I'll do it. It depends on the product. Some of it doesn't need that. What you really need is coaching and guiding and trust.
Yeah. If you have the best cameras, but you have a messy house.
Yeah.
What are they taking the picture?
You got a good, clear picture of a mess.
Yes, exactly.
That's what you have.
So that's not always an easy conversation to have with a homeowner. You know?
It's not, but there's a way to be diplomatic about it.
Right.
And I always say to them, this is your home.
Yeah.
And you live in it, and it's warm and it's cozy. We're selling a house.
Yeah.
And I give them an example because I find a lot of people don't learn auditorily. They need a visual, right? So I tell them, did you ever go into a model home? When you go to a model home, do you see lots of stuff? No, you'll see 2 pictures, one thing on the mantle. This is what people like because they can envision their things there. So I always make sure that they know this is a lovely home and I'm very comfortable here. But we're selling a house to somebody else who wants to make it their home.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Just got to lead them along to the, with an understanding of, how are you going to get the best results with them.
Right.
Because it is a teamwork, so to speak. I need the seller's help in order to position their house correctly.
We're a team, and if you want me to drive in the best amount of money for this house in the shortest possible time, we are a team. I can't do it without you. I hope that you'll find value in what I bring to the table as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, Gail, so you know what? We talk about, working hard, and obviously there's no one who gets the level of success without the hard work that you've put in over the years. And, I have total respect for that. We want to know about the human side of Gail. So what does Gail do on her downtime? What type of hobbies?
Is there room for hobbies when you're a real estate person?
I don't know.
There's not a lot of room for hobbies.
Yes.
I have some guilty pleasures. I like, word games. I'm good at them. I have a secret passion for turning garbage into gold, meaning if I get a chance to do a garage sale in the summer, which is so comical because I will come out with a couple $100 and I applied myself in real estate for that afternoon. So it's just a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you really enjoy it, or are you just glad that you're decluttering your house?
I enjoy it. Really? I really do enjoy it. It's a guilty pleasure. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's interesting. What about a childhood story, maybe that affected you in a meaningful way?
Okay, yes, something definitely comes to mind here. So I'm not going to mention the name of the young boy that bullied me when I was a child because I'm now friends with him on Facebook, which is the beauty of Facebook, right? But I had this boy, and he used to make it very difficult for me to go outside and play. I was very young, and he used to tell me he was going to ride over me with his bicycle. Ooh. And day in and day out, I was afraid to go outside and play.
How old were you, ballpark?
I was somewhere between, I would say, 5 and 9, 5 and 8, somewhere in there. Yeah. And I had older sisters, and they really had it, right? So one day, my older sister, who's 12 years older than me, hid behind the mailbox waiting for this little kid to come out. And actually, she did kind of grab him. But aside from that, I had realized in that moment that I couldn't have anybody fight my battles, and that this was going to be a world of challenges. I knew that at that very young age. Yeah. And I also knew that I didn't want to cower in the face of a bully. So one day I went outside and I said to him, no name. Yeah. Okay, you want to ride over me with your bicycle? Go ahead, I said. And I laid myself down on the cement on my back and said, go. And I saw when you push back a bully, they get a little nervous. So he was shocked. Yeah. So you would think maybe he wouldn't do it. He did it. He rode over me. He did, but it was fast and it was on my stomach and it barely hurt at all. Okay. But things changed from that day in. And the lesson I learned is that you have to push back in the face of a bully. Yeah. And as a negotiator, a sales negotiator, all the tensions, we encounter bullies, whether it's a combative listing agent or a combative buyer or even a seller. Sometimes it's difficult and you have to be strong without being combative.
Yeah, well, be respectful.
Be respectful.
It's a hard balance sometimes.
It's a hard balance, but I think that if somebody's going to bully you for a result, and this happens not even meaningfully, like if you're at a table and the seller feels the price should be a certain way and they get really strong about it, some agents will just kind of cower to that instead of, I'll say, you know what, we're going to put your price in, but if I would be remiss at doing my duties if I didn't tell you why I think that's not a good idea, right? And a lot of times when you do push back with reasoning, people back off, right? So anyway, thanks to that little boy, he taught me never to cower in the face of a bully and to believe in myself and to stand up for myself. And maybe it wasn't a great idea to lay down and get ridden over, but I lived to tell the story.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Were your sisters around to see you do that or not?
No.
They weren't.
No.
You did it on your own.
Yeah, I did on my own. I had no protection.
All right, good for you.
Yeah.
And so in the future, did he back off?
You know what? Things got different because I wasn't afraid to go outside anymore. The worst happened.
Right.
He was going to ride over me with a bicycle. He did it. I survived it.
Yeah.
Right? So he didn't bother me as much. We actually became friends. And like I said, he's my friend on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. I might have to ride over him, though.
Yeah. Except for your car is probably a little bit bigger than the bicycle.
It's true. Yeah, I didn't say it was a bike. I should tell him I say it was a bike. We're going to use a car this time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So what else excites Gail Carillo? Come on. Is it travel? Is it...
I'm a homebody. Yeah, I'm a homebody. The things that bring me the greatest joy always revolve around my children.
Yeah.
I also love animals.
Okay.
You know.
Yes. Well, there you go. I know you.
Yeah.
It's the French bulldogs.
Yeah,
right?
I have 2 Frenchies.
So
yeah.
tell us about that. We want to hear about it. By the way, they have to love the pictures you put on social media.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Because they have such personality, the Frenchies.
Yes.
You know. So for me, I've always liked to make a difference, right? I like to help people. This is why I think that I succeeded in real estate, because we're always helping people.
Yeah.
And I like to help make a difference in the life of children, be a voice for the voiceless, which is where the animals come in.
Yeah.
Help the senior citizens, the first-time home buyer, right? So that's always rewarding to me. So as it relates to the animals, I mean, they're my best friends, and they are just comedic and loyal. There's that again.
So it's Mac and what's the other one?
Blue.
Yes.
BLEU. And don't forget Eddie. Eddie's my cat.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had a cat. I just see you don't put a cat on social media. I see the dogs on social media.
Not as much. Because you saw Mac because he was in the contest.
Oh, okay.
He was in the America's Favorite Pet contest. Yes. And that contest, we were going to make the next round where it was going to go out to public voting, because up to that point, it was more about a popularity contest.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was like 4th.
Yeah.
And the next day he was 2nd. So he was 1. I would have bought some votes. I would have bought some votes for my friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So you started to talk a little bit about the other part that's close to our heart here. So we work hard, obviously, play hard, but giving back. So it's almost like a blurred line here. It's some of your downtime. We love the fact that we've been successful, right? And when you achieve a certain level of that success, so you meet those goals, right? Then it gives you an opportunity to look back at your life and say, okay, well, how do I contribute? So I know we have the Heart of American Homes Foundation, something the company started a couple of years, probably 4 or 5 years already. And, perennially, the agents and everyone comes together. We raise at least $100,000 a year, just that. But tell us, what is giving back mean to you?
It falls in line with what I was saying to you before, making the difference in somebody's life. Whether that is a child, which I think is the utmost, an animal, a senior, a first-timer, making a difference in somebody else's life. And as far back as I can remember, I always tried to devote a part of my time volunteering somewhere. So I told you I volunteered for Response for a period of time. That was very heavy. So it's not something that I felt I wanted to do for a very long time. So I probably stuck with it for a year and a half. But before that, for almost a decade, I was the president of a mother center.
Okay.
So I went into that mother center as a new and young mother in a group called 30-something. And I still have those relationships 30 years later.
Yeah.
But when I became the president of that mother center, it was a little different. I like to be a little different. So in the other mother centers, they were talking about to breastfeed or bottle feed.
Right.
And we were doing women and sexuality.
Okay.
Because you find that in relationships suffer when a child comes in. Right. And so I did a study at that time, and it was really, really empowering. It really should have been published, to what happens to couples when a baby enters the fray.
Yeah.
But anyway, I volunteered at the Mother Center for about 10 years. Yeah. Then when I was done with that, I went to Response. And when it became heavy on the hotline, I went into the schools. Okay. And I started to educate the junior high school students about coping skills. Wow. So, and now we try at least once a quarter to give back to the community, whether that's in the form of a trunk and treat, whether we do an adopt a pet. Yeah. At the holiday time, I think you've seen what we do at the holiday time. Yeah. We go and we visit the families with Santa. It's very hands-on. It's very tangible. We bring gifts and we go to the shelters. So that's always great. And you know what? I'm not a martyr. I get something from this. Yes. I feel so good when I do these things. So it's not selfless. Yeah. It's not. I feel so good when I can bring about that change.
Yeah. And how do you rally your team around the causes?
You know what? It's easy. Again, it goes back to just aligning yourself with the right people. Be with people that cheer for you when you're not in the room. Be with people that have the same, they align with your way of thinking. It's not, I don't have any difficulty with a couple of things. We have backup buddy lists, right? So and I tell my team, I don't have any kind of structure on what it looks like if somebody supports you when they're away, et cetera, et cetera. Let's leave that to you guys to do that. I have no bantering about you owe me or you owe me. It's like, don't worry, don't worry. I have to bring them back to making a business decision because everybody wants to scratch each other's backs. It's really just about aligning yourself with good people. When I'm doing a charitable event, they all step up. Yeah.
It's
good human beings.
It starts, from the core, from the top on down,
as
he said, and it goes through the entire team. Love it. Love it. So, random act of kindness.
I think I can think of a couple of random acts of kindness that were done for me that I'll never forget. Okay. First off, when somebody does something for either one of my children, it's something I'll never forget, even more than it's for me. I had an attorney at the closing for my son pay the oil bill as a gift, and I was just taken back. It was just such a nice gesture that he stepped up and paid that oil bill. Recently, something every parent lives for. My son sent me a series of 7 different posters identifying who his mom is, like a field of white roses, and in the middle is one red rose, and it says, my mom. And at the end of all of these posters, which I don't want to bore you with, but I couldn't see them enough. It said, my mom, it was a tattoo on the palm, said, my mom is my superhero. This is not something that's customary for my son, to show that kind of affection or to say, I've done a good job. But it was one of the most meaningful, random acts of kindness that it wasn't Mother's Day, it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't expected, and it was recent. And I could choke up just talking about it. And how that makes somebody feel just to notice that you've done something well. Right? And I try to bring that to people almost every day. If I see you when you have a nice suit on, I try to make a point of saying, that's a really nice suit. Sometimes we think things and we don't give.
Right.
So I try to make sure I do that every day. You know?
No, I think that you touch on something, because life can be a rat race, and real estate has no beginning and no end. Right? So and it's like 7 days, it's always another house to show, another person to talk to along the way, and trying to keep that work-life balance, and staying grounded with the personal side. I think it's so important, and I love the fact that you're willing to share that.
You know what? I just thought of something. I was thinking about, remember we had a gas crisis and people waiting long lines of gas, and everybody was so agitated. And I said to myself, what can I do to make that better? And I went out and I bought 50 lottery tickets or so. And I walked that line of cars and I said, hey, good fortune, good fortune, good fortune. And everybody who went from being all grumpy was like, wow, what a nice random act of kindness. And one by one, you saw smiles on that whole line. People were beeping, people were agitated. $1 it costs me. It's just, these are random acts of kindness. If you go out to a restaurant and you're going to leave a $20 tip, they're like, thank you. Leave $20 tip and a $1 lottery ticket. They're like, thank you. Because it's a random act of kindness.
Love that. So, at the end of every one of our episodes, we do the drop the mic.
Oh boy, here we go.
So you have a choice. And it's you, instead of doing, say, you're averaging 15 transactions a month, you only do 12. Or you can do the 15 transactions, but you have to drive public transportation for the rest of your life. Which one do you take?
Can I twist that a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. So there was a question once, would you like X millions of dollars or X time more on your life? Right? And this is what this is reminding me of. It's just more dramatic, right? Would you like $5 million or 5 extra years? For me, it was a no-brainer. I want the 5 extra years, right? It's about quality of life. I want the 5 extra years. I want to live. One of my dear friends, who's such a go-giver. He's a go-giver. I asked him, and he said to me, I want the money. I said, who are you? Like, I don't even know who you are. Who are you? He said, I want the money so I can give it away. So that was a greater sacrifice.
That's interesting,
He exchanged extra time on his life so he can get the money to give it away. It makes him feel good. So I don't know that I would mind driving a bus. And I also don't care if I make 3 less deals. At this stage in my life, what I want is quality of life. And so wherever I'm going to get better quality of life, That's what I'm going for.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great answer. I love it. I love it. Okay, Gail, if you had to give one piece of advice to a new agent who just, joined our industry, what would it be?
Okay, I think what's super important is knowing your own value.
Yeah.
So if you know your own value, everything else will follow. I ask my team members all the time, if you were going to list a property or you were going to buy a property, who would you list it with and who would you buy it with? If at any time that answer is anyone other than yourself, you need to continue skill building until you know that you are the best person for that job. A lot of times I'll say, what if somebody doesn't hire me? I think they're crazy, and I'm not being egocentric. I know my value.
Right.
Once you know your value, everything else will follow. If you don't believe you're the right person for the job, nobody else will.
Yeah. Would you say that the best way for them to get a belief system is really just training?
I think it's training, but I believe in training. I thrust my agents into the field. Yeah. I think you can put somebody in the classroom all day and all night, and the way that they learn is by doing it.
Yeah.
And remember the bicycle story that I told earlier, right? Yeah. Okay, I put myself out there. I let them ride over me. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Maybe not lay down under a bicycle, but go out there, fumble. This was hard for me today. Yeah. Two things about this were hard for me today. I don't drive well. And I'm not a big fan of being on camera. Yeah. But if I'm going to tell my team to do these things, I need to set the example.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you're here because, again, you're such an icon in the business. And we're so happy to have the opportunity to share some time together with our audience. So thank you again for showing up. I want to give a quick shout out. If someone wants to, reach out to Team Carillo, mm-hmm. how do they get Gail Carillo or your team?
Okay, I'd be happy to hook anybody up with one of the wonderful buyer's agents on my team. Yeah. You can reach me at 631-672-2343 or gcarillo@cbamhomes.com. My preferred method of communication is texting because you'll get me quicker in case I'm tied up like something like today. I want to make sure that I get back to you as quickly as possible.
That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today for our episode of Work Hard, Play Hard, and Give Back, a real estate podcast. Look for upcoming episodes. We have a great lineup of guests and real estate professionals. So look forward to seeing you soon.